I used to think that the male bees, the drones, had the perfect life. They have their every need taken care of by the females in the hive, and their only task is to be ready to mate with a virgin queen from a nearby hive if the chance arises. But did you know that every queen on their one and only mating flight will mate with upwards of 20 drones? And each and every one of those drones will have its penis ripped off in the process and left to die, cold and alone, with no penis. And on that note, we're going to get into my hives today and we're going to find our queen, because today I'm going to paint a coloured mark on their back. I'm going in today without a veil. I just find that not having the veil on gives me a little bit better visibility, seeing what I'm doing, and because I'm doing something that I'm not confident with, which is painting a mark on the back of our queen bee, I decided it'd probably be better if I can get away without the veil today. I don't usually have much problem with these hives with aggression, unless I do something stupid like you've seen in other videos. So yeah, we'll see how we go. I might chicken out and put it on yet. We'll see how we go. For those that don't keep bees, there's a couple reasons why we mark the queens. The first one is it just makes her easier to find when you're doing your inspections. As you can imagine, a bee with a coloured mark on her back would be a lot easier to find than one that's not marked. Once you know what you're looking for in an inspection, you don't need to find the queen. I mean, if you can find brood cells like these and newly laid eggs, you can see the newly laid eggs when they're only a couple of days old. And if you can see that, well, you know your queen's there and you know she's working, so there's really no need to see her. But it's always cool just to see the queen and see that she's working. The other reason why we mark a queen is so that we can tell how old she is. A lot of the commercial breeders and a lot of hobbyists as well will replace the queen probably every 18 months to 2 years to keep a young, sort of more productive queen in their hives. And they'll buy queens from specialist queen breeders so that they know what genetics they've got in their hives. I don't do that, but I'd still like to just keep a track of how old the queen is. And if I come in to do an inspection and I find a queen that's not marked, well, I know she's been replaced. So it just lets me know that what's going on in the hive. The colouring system's pretty simple. It's just a 5-colour rotating system depending on the year. This year ends in a 2, so we're using yellow. Last year ended in a 1, so we used blue. The year before that was white. I think that's right. And the year before that was green. I know 19 was green. Pretty sure 20 was white. 21. And it rotates on a 5-yearly system anyway. And I'll try and throw a graphic up so you can see it, because that's probably easier than me trying to explain it. And your queens won't really live longer than 5 years, so we only need the 5-colour system to keep a track of them. So my mission today is to find our queen and then catch her in our U-Butte single-handed queen catching thing. I've tried practicing catching drones and things with this thing, and I don't know if I'd ever be able to catch a queen single-handed in here. You're supposed to be able to put it over her on the frame and then just slide the little door shut, but yeah, I don't know. Too worried about squashing her or something, so I'll just chase her in there and I'll catch her in there, and then we'll have a look and see how we paint the thing. I'll just skip through most of what else I'm looking at until I find her, and then we'll get in and paint her. I was hoping to get in nice and close and show you some footage of the queen, but every time I turn this thing around, she buggers off back over the other side. This is her just here, the bigger bee. So we will attempt to get her in No. Probably won't be able to see, but I've got her in there. And now I have to slowly just slide that bit of plastic. Try not to squash her. And she's in. Alright, we have our queen bee in the cup. Now these slots in the top, they are large enough that a worker bee can crawl out, but the queen bee can't. So she can try and get out, but she won't. There's a little foam plunger in here that you can move up and down, and the idea is that you can press the queen, it's got to be up the other way, but so that her back goes up against there, and she'll be presented then so that you can mark her back with your paint. I'll just watch what I'm doing and I'll try and get her in position. Right, we've got her in position there. You can use paintbrushes, little tiny paintbrushes to paint your stuff on, but I've just got a little piece of grass because we're just going to get a little daub of paint just to mark her back, and this is just a cheap oil-based paint. We'll just dab it on, try and get a reasonable coverage. I believe this section of her body is called the thorax, but I'm not. I might have to look that up and I'll write it in text if I am wrong. So I'll just leave that there for a second to dry, and then I'll release the pressure off her, and then she can just cruise around in there for a bit until that paint dries. Because if I throw her straight back in the hive, the first thing those worker bees are going to do is try and get that paint off her because it doesn't belong on her. So yeah, we really need to just let that dry a bit, and then we can release her back into the hive and she's marked. And the people that have watched my channel a little bit before probably noticed from the intro that I have two queens, which means that the hive behind me, the split has been successful. I asked for some help in my last video because I was taking bars with brood and eggs over and I wasn't getting a successful requeen. There was a lot of good suggestions that I got from that, but in the end I didn't need it. The very next inspection when I went out, I decided that I was going to take the queen from here and put her over there. But yeah, I didn't need to. The previous lot of eggs and stuff that I'd taken over there had been successful and they'd requeened themselves. Yeah, so I've got two bugger off. Two successfully running hives now, which is really good. Rightio, we might let her go. And it's just a simple matter of opening it back up and she should just find her way back into... Yep, there she goes, straight back down onto the bar. And yeah. Right, that's that one done. I think I probably should leave the queen a bit longer for that paint to dry. So I'll have to have a look next time I'm in there and see if that paint actually stayed on or whether the bees were able to clean it off. I'm having a bit of trouble with the camera overheating today, and I want to try and get to both hives and mark both queens on camera, so probably rushed that a little bit. The next one I'll leave it a little bit longer. Anyway, I'll set the camera up over on the other one and we'll see if we can find her as well. See her on there. Come on. Right, she is in the contraption. And again, we just need to get her up the right way. And gently press her up against the top. Bit of paint, trusty piece of grass, and away we go. This time I'll leave her a bit longer, I reckon. So I'm going to leave that dry for a while now. And you'll see queen marking on a lot of YouTube videos, and in a lot of them you'll see them sit these in the sun with the queen. If you do that here, she's toast. A lot of the places that show that sort of thing, they're in cold climates where it's, you know, if you put them in the shade or whatever, they just won't have the heat. They'll freeze to death. But here, it's the opposite problem. It's hot as buggery here. And if we left her in the sun, she would just cook in here. So I'll clear a bit of room and I'll stick her in the shade for a little while. And then I'll have a bit of a sticky beak through the rest of the hive. And yeah, then we'll let her go in the hive. Alright, I'll let you go back in there. Alright, so that's how I'm marking my queens. It's not too hard. It's a little bit scary for somebody that hasn't really done that before. Hopefully that paint will stick. We'll get in next week and we'll have a look and we'll see how that went. I think that other hive, the green hive, I'll probably let her go a little bit early. Yeah, so I'm not sure how that's going to go. I think this one's got the best chance of the paint sticking. These guys are doing really well. These guys are performing better than the green hive, that's for sure. I'm actually quite surprised with how much they've done in the last week. We've got some really good conditions for them at the moment. It's nice and warm, it's sunny. We've been getting good rain. There's eucalypts are flowering everywhere, so they're able to pack heaps of nectar in. So yeah, hopefully a honey harvest isn't too far off, because we've been doing this since 2019 and we've only been able to get the tiniest little bit of honey off them here and there, where we've taken bits of comb off that were not straight or whatever, and we've managed to get a little bit of honey here and there, but we haven't actually had a proper honey harvest yet, mainly because of the drought that we've been having. But this year has been a really good year for them. So obviously splitting them is not what you would do if you were just after honey, because both hives then are weakened and they both got to sort of rebuild themselves. But in the long run, it's better to have those two hives and have a bit of security. If one hive starts to decline, like a hive can lose its queen and they can raise themselves another queen, and she can die on her mating flight, and that can be the end of that hive, because they don't then have the fresh eggs to start off another queen. At least with two hives, I can then borrow some eggs from this one, take it over to that one, and you know, the process continues. They can then requeen themselves. So there's a little bit of security in having two. Yeah, and plus eventually you should get that bigger honey harvest because you've got two fully functioning hives. So yeah, anyway, that's how I mark my queens, and yeah, we'll jump back in next week and we'll have another look and see if it was successful or not. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.